Hello friends, today I am going to discuss the first stanza of the text Pablo Neruda's famous poem The Way Spain Was. This video will also present the background of the poem, about the poet and the poem, rhyme and image, and line by line explanation of the text. There are some modern critical aspects discussed in the video also, so please watch till the last. We will start with the text, so let's get started. As in this video, I am going to discuss the first stanza of the poem. Let us see the poem first. Spain was a taut, dry drumhead, daily beating a dull thud, flatlands and eagle's nest, silence lashed by the storm. How much to the point of weeping in my soul I love your hard soil, your poor bread, your poor people. How much in the deep place of my being there is still the lost flower of your wrinkled villages, motionless in time, and your metallic meadows stretched out in the moonlight through the ages, now devoured by a false god. So this is the first stanza of 12 lines, and there are other two stanzas also of 5 lines, consisting of 5 lines. But before going to the in detailed line by line analysis of the text, let us learn what the poem is about. The poem is example of Neruda's view of Spain during the Spanish Civil War. Clearly, this was a time of great unrest. Neruda is pondering the sadness, the loss of life, and the horrors he has witnessed. The poem begins with the speaker describing how Spain is under a great deal of pressure. The country has been pushed to its limits and then pounded like a drum. Its highs and lows have been lashed by storms, but Neruda still finds a great deal to love. He recalls the beauty of the countryside and the poor people who lived there. He mourns over the losses the country suffered and how it changed. ফলে এই কবিতা স্পেনের সিভিল ওয়ার সমকালীন পরিস্থিতিকে তুলে ধরছে এবং সিভিল ওয়ার স্পেনে সাধারণ মানুষের কাছে কি দুঃসহ যন্ত্রণার হয়ে উঠেছিল, সাধারণ মানুষ কতটা কষ্ট পেয়েছিল, সেই যন্ত্রণার কথাকে তিনি তুলে ধরেছেন, গৌরবোজ্জ্বল অতীত এবং সেই অতীতকে স্মরণ করে বর্তমান যে লস একটা রেকারিং থিম হয়ে উঠেছে এই কবিতার, সেই লসকে তিনি তুলে ধরেছেন প্রথম স্তবকে। The second half of the poem, he speaks in greater detail on the duality of the country. It is the same time rough and smooth. The wine, a symbol of resources the country has to offer, is violent and delicate, causing good and bad events to befall the land. The text ends with a hopeful message about the resounding goodness of Spain that will last longer than the strife. কবিতার শেষে একটা আশাবাদী সুর ধ্বনিত হয়ে উঠেছে। যাই হোক, এই হচ্ছে কবিতা। মোটামুটি স্প্যানিশ সিভিল ওয়ারের সমকালীন পরিস্থিতিকে, যে একটা অস্থির পরিস্থিতি, অস্থির সময় এবং তাতে মানুষের দুঃখ, যন্ত্রণা, দুর্দশা, তাকে তুলে ধরেছেন এই কবিতায়। আমরা কবি সম্বন্ধে ইতিমধ্যেই জেনে নিয়েছি। যারা এখনো আমার টুনাইট আই ক্যান রাইট পাবলো নেরুদার এই কবিতা দেখনি, সেই ভিডিও দেখলে পার্ট 1-এ কবি সম্বন্ধে ইন ডিটেলস আলোচনা করা রয়েছে। Pablo Neruda, poet to the way Spain was, belong to the generation of 1927. Generation of 1927 একটা স্প্যানিশ কবিদের গ্রুপ, এবং এই পাবলো নেরুদা was the national poet of Chile. Chile is this slim country of South America. Pablo Neruda was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1971. His language was Spanish, English, and French. Though he was a poet of Chile, he wrote about Spain. And the background of writing this poem is that Neruda took Spain as his second home. He also regarded Spain as his motherland. The way Spain is in the poetic collection Third Residence, which Neruda had written when he was a member of the Communist Party of the Chile. He is very much concerned about the common people of the land. Although his mind is burdened with seething social issues, he spoke as simply as possible to communicate his sentiments to the public. ফলে মানুষের কাছে যন্ত্রণার কথা তুলে ধরেছেন এবং একই জিনিসকে ভিন্ন দৃষ্টিভঙ্গি থেকে সাধারণ মানুষকে এই আন্দোলনে উদ্বুদ্ধ করে তুলেছিলেন। He recounts with passion the repeated suffering recorded in the history of Spain. ফলে কবিতা পড়ার আগে এই ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ড আমাদের জানতেই হবে। না জানলে চিলির এই বিখ্যাত কবি কেন স্পেনকে নিয়ে কবিতা লিখে ফেললেন এবং কেন স্পেনের সঙ্গে তার কি যোগাযোগ, কোন জায়গায় আত্মিক যোগাযোগ, তা আমরা বুঝতে না পারলে এই কবিতা আমাদের বোঝা সার্থক হবে না। আর একটি জিনিস আলোচনা করে আমি সরাসরি কবিতায় যাব, সেটি হচ্ছে রাইম অ্যান্ড ইমেজারি। এই কবিতাটি সম্পূর্ণভাবে ফ্রি ভার্সে লেখা, উইদাউট রাইম অর রিদম, রিটেন ইন গ্রেট কনসার্ন অফ দ্য কান্ট্রি স্পেন। দ্য ইমেজারিজ আর হ্যাভকলি বিন ইউজড। কবিতা পড়তে পড়তে আমরা আলোচনা করব। The dwelling nature of Spain is shown to us in many ways throughout the poem through imageries. It is said to be taut, dry drumhead. It was lashed or bitten just as storm lashes the flatlands and eagle's nest. Hard soil, poor bread. এই কবিতায় প্রচুর ইমেজারিজ ব্যবহার করা হয়েছে। কবিতাতে দেশকে সোলার স্টোনের সঙ্গে তুলনা করেছেন কোথাও কোথাও। তিনি প্রোলেতারিয়ান স্পেন বলতে ওয়ার্কিং ক্লাস পিপলকে বুঝিয়েছেন, যারা clearly made of petals and bullets. However, let us have a look at the very poem. Spain was a taut, dry drumhead, daily beating a dull thud, flatlands and eagle's nest, silence lashed by storm. So Spain is regarded as the second home of the poet Pablo Neruda. Actually, Neruda thought what poetry is was changed in these latter poems. Post-colonial literature often focuses on the suppression, oppression, identity crisis, alienation and cultural identity, etc. faced by the natives of the colonized land. But the poem of Neruda presents the theme of post-colonialism in a different way. Here, though the atrocities of colonizers are portrayed, he never hates them, instead celebrates the mingling of culture. The way Spain records the suffering of the people recorded in the history of Spain as a colony through many harsh images. The land blessed with nature's bounty was destroyed in the civil war. এই সিভিল ওয়ার সবকিছুকে ধ্বংস করে দিয়েছে, শূন্য করে দিয়েছে, ফাঁকা করে দিয়েছে, শুকনো করে দিয়েছে। সমস্ত সাংস্কৃতিক, বৌদ্ধিক এবং প্রাকৃতিক যে সরসতা তাকে শুষ্ক করে দিয়েছে। সেই জন্য টট এবং ড্রাই এই সমস্ত অ্যাডজেক্টিভ ব্যবহার করা হয়েছে। টট মিনস স্ট্রেসড, সো দ্য কান্ট্রি ইজ স্ট্রেসড অ্যান্ড দ্য পোয়েট Pablo Neruda is very much concerned about the well-being of the country and its inhabitants. He traces the history of Spain. The present invaders were once invaded by many. Though through many opposing images, the horror of war and the plight of the affected people are portrayed very effectively here. Though the deep love of the poet for Chile, he begins to consider Spain as his motherland, as I have already said it. When he witnessed the ruins of Machu Picchu, his love for the land became more intense. His mourning for the Spain's glorious past is evident in the words when he said, "Your poor people, our stricken people." So in the first stanza of the poem, the speaker begins by using the metaphor, taut, dry drumhead, daily beating a dull thud. So this is the metaphor. to describe the state of Spain during the period of the Civil War. Actually, he then resided there. It is said to be taut, dry drumhead. Actually, the affairs of the country are pushed to the limit, drawn tight across the land and beaten repeatedly. The drumbeat of the nation reminds one of the Civil War in which Neruda fought. The Civil War lasted from 1936 to 1939, and Neruda's role in the conflict ended after he was recalled from Madrid in 1937. However, silence and isolation are repeated and cries of taut and dry Spain. This phrase shows the very core of the sensibility. The core of the sensibility and the memories of war remind him of the dull and loud sound of drums. ড্রামের জোরে জোরে শব্দ শোনা যাচ্ছে, যুদ্ধের বিভৎসতা, মিলিটারি মার্চিং, এগুলো তাকে মনে করিয়ে দিচ্ছে। ডাল থার্ড ইজ দ্য সাউন্ড, ফলে এগুলো ডাল এবং লাউড সাউন্ড অফ দ্য ড্রামস অফ ওয়ার। ইট ইজ বিটিং, সো দ্য বিটিং, দ্য word beating has doubly been used. Beating is the drum beating of the Civil War, and secondly it also refers to the beating of the people, the beating of the country, which is now in a kind of entrapped situation. But before going to the next line, let us ponder why Spain is of so much concern to the poet, because there was a good relation between Chile and Spain, and though he was the national poet of Chile, you know, in 1536 Spanish explorer Diego de Almagro arrived to present-day Chile hoping to find another territory as rich as Peru. However, discovering no mineral resources in the territory, he soon returned to Peru. In 1540 Spanish conquistador Pedro de Valdivia entered Chile and founded the city of Santiago. So the Spain and Chile are in good relation. Chile, this is the slim city, slim country, and this is Spain, and their relation is very good. Over the years, both nations have signed numerous agreements such as a Treaty of Friendship and Cooperation 1990, Antarctic Cooperation of Agreement 1931, and there are of recently Memorandum of Understanding of Cooperation in Biosecurity and Biocustody Matters 2017, Mutual Recognition Agreement for University Degrees 2017, and a Memorandum of Understanding on Cooperation of Cyber Security 2018. So the relation between Spain and Chile is age old. The poet, being his political counsel, was then at Madrid, and he saw the Civil War, and then he wrote this. The Spain, so he wrote, Spain was a taut, dry drumhead, daily beating a dull thud. Flatlands and eagle's nest. Flatlands and a jomi. The landscape, and the eagle's nest. Eagle's nest are generally on the high cliffs. উঁচু পাহাড়ের উপরে ঈগলের বাসা হয়. So both are silenced by the storm, as if they are smashed and beaten. অর্থাৎ highland, lowland, everywhere there was the effect of impression of the Civil War. Civil War had its adverse impact on the whole of Spain. Whole of Spain was lashed, smashed and beaten. গোটা স্পেনটাই এই স্প্যানিশ সিভিল ওয়ারের দ্বারা আক্রান্ত হয়েছিল। So it is clear that Neruda sees Spain as having endured a great number of hardships. It was lashed or beaten just as a storm, ঝড়ের মতো করে, by the storm. Here storm might refer to the natural storm or the storm of civil war, storm of dictatorship. কারণ ক্যাপিটালিস্টদের এই আন্দোলন যা সাধারণ মানুষকে ভয়াবহ পরিস্থিতির মুখে ঠেলে দিয়েছিল। সো ফ্ল্যাটল্যান্ডস অর অ্যান ইগলস নেস্ট হাই অন এ হিল সাইড, although these two are opposites, they are both impacted by the events of the storm, just as all parts of Spain were touched by war and political and social strife. ফলে সামাজিক, রাজনৈতিক এবং অর্থনৈতিক যে সংঘাতের মধ্য দিয়ে স্পেনকে এই সময়ে যেতে হয়েছিল তার প্রভাব স্পেনের উপরে পড়ে। How much to the point of weeping in my soul I love your hard soil, your poor bread, your poor people. How much in the deep place of my being there is still the lost flower of your wrinkled villages. Motionless instead. কবি বলছেন যে তিনি যথেষ্ট সহানুভূতিশীল, তিনি হি ইজ অন দ্য পয়েন্ট অফ উইপিং, তিনি কেঁদে ফেলছেন। হাউ মাচ ইন মাই সোল আই লাভ ইউর হার্ড সয়েল। এক্সটেন্ডেড মেটাফর এখানে ব্যবহার করা হয়েছে। দ্য পোয়েট ইজ স্পিকিং অন হাউ ডিপ দ্য প্রবলেমস গো। সমস্যা এতই জটিল যে হ্যাঁ, স্পেনের মাটি শক্ত, নিশ্চয়ই তার জন্য ইয়োর পুয়ার ব্রেড, এখানে উৎপাদনের কথা বলা হয়েছে, এখন উৎপাদন স্থগিত হয়ে গেছে। এটার কারণ হচ্ছে স্প্যানিশ সিভিল ওয়ার, যেটা অনেক গভীরে মাটিকেও শক্ত করে দিয়েছে। দীর্ঘদিনের এই সংস্কৃতির পীঠস্থান স্পেন তাকে বিপর্যস্ত করেছে। So Neruda's love for the country comes through clearly. He speaks on how he thinks on the hard soil and poor bread of the country. It does not, at least at this point in history, have the capability of producing good solid food. No food is produced now. এখন আর খাদ্য তৈরি হচ্ছে না, ব্রেড তৈরি হচ্ছে না। This is in part due to the nature of the ground itself. মাটির সাধারণ প্রকৃতির জন্য এটা হচ্ছে। অ্যান্ড আর একটা কারণ হতে পারে যে খুব গভীরে সমস্যা নিমজ্জিত হয়েছে, সাধারণ মানুষ পীড়িত, যন্ত্রণাকাতর, ফলে ব্রেড ইজ নট প্রকিউরিং নাও অ্যান্ড দ্য পিপল আর ইন পুয়ার ইকোনমিক্যালি অ্যান্ড দেয়ার কন্ডিশন ইজ ভেরি পুয়ার। How much in the deep place of my being there is still the lost flower. So the flower is being lost. Neruda makes clear to the reader the vulnerable position of Spain and simultaneously asserts his sympathy and solidarity with its barren soil, hard soil, rough bread, poor bread, and poor people, stricken people. Widespread poverty among the farmers and laborers has resulted in harsh circumstances, and a lack of food and comfort was there. No one can provide food and comfort. So according to Neruda, the Spaniard has a bittersweet existence, witnessing on one hand the beauty of the Spanish culture, language, art, food and terrain, and on the other deplorable poverty and violence. So the opposites are there. He also weeps over the poor people of Spain, সাধারণ মানুষের জন্য কষ্ট পাচ্ছেন কবি, and the wrinkled villages they come from. Your poor people, how much in the deep place of my being there is still the lost flower of your wrinkled villages. কোঁচকানো, শুষ্ক। So the poet has expressed his deep attachment to Spain and Spanish people. Fresh bloom of life cannot be found there because the war has made its impact so adversely on the very lives of the people that they are crumpled. The villages are crumpled, crinkly, and it has become motionless in time. And your metallic meadows, so the meadows have become metallic, non-productive. So the last three lines again has a kind of metaphoric interpretation. This is again a powerful alliteration also. Metallic meadows, repetition of M sound. He could be simply describing how everything's been turned upside down, সবকিছু ওলট পালট হয়ে গেছে, or thinking on the metal that is now in the fields. If the metal is there in the meadows মানে চারণভূমি, grassy land, the productive field, they have become barren, just like the poor bread, hard soil, unproductive land. in spite of the fertility of Spain, it is not that Spain is infertile. Spain is fertile. The poet is more concerned about the inhabited of the land affected by the civil battle and the dictatorship. Dictatorship actually is hampering the production. He is very much conscious of the Spanish land aged by years of sunlight and of regions invaded by various races. So the metallic meadows stretched out in the moonlight through the ages, now devoured by a false god, এখন তাকে গ্রাস করে নিয়েছে একটা মিথ্যে ভগবান. This false god can be expressed in different way, can be judged, can be analyzed in different ways. Actually, Spain was under the civil war, the time we are talking of. The military persons were killing the public in general, and they were undergoing the very tough time in terms of food, comfort and everything. So the god was not in their favor, it was the false god. So in this poem, the way Spain was, which is included in the third residence, the poet mourns the evanescence of Spanish rich glorious past and recounts the tragedy that has fallen its people owing to fascist forces, which he refers to as a false and imbecile god. So it is the fascist forces, capitalist domination, that is the false god. Neruda went on to write a total of 21 poems in reaction to the war contained in his book Espana en el Corazon, Spain in the Heart, which would form part of the third residence. The poetry was meant to reach outside the cultural intellectual readership of his prior, more hermetic books. Now, Neruda's poetry was printed by frontline soldiers who used old clothing and supposedly an enemy flag to make the pulp. Republican soldiers set the type, printed the finished copies and delivered them to those fighting. Poetry, in other words, was fuel for the resistance, and Neruda was only one part of sweeping movement. So many poets had such deep impact on the Spanish Civil War that it has been called the Poets' War. So the Spanish Civil War is sometimes called the Poets' War because the poets involved in it. So thank you guys. I hope you have understood the loss poets' concern on the very civil war, and in the next video we will read and discuss the last section of the poem, The Way Spain Was. Thank you again for watching this video.